Hello everyone, and welcome back to Tea Time Crochet. Today we're going to be working on this corner square. Basically what it is we start off with one corner and then we work our way this way, and it creates a square that grows with as many rows as you do. So it's, a different take on a typical crochet square. So I thought I would do it today, and you can pretty much take this square and do anything that you could think of. You can start out with, a square like this and just keep adding to it row after row until it becomes like the size of a baby blanket or a lap robe, or even further than that you probably can, as long as you're keeping in mind it's going to make a square. You can pretty much do anything. You can keep them small and sew them all together with a bunch of little tiny squares. You can do squares this size and sew them together. You could do large squares and sew them together. You can pretty much do any type of project that requires a square. So you could do, like I said, blankets, of course. You could do granny square scarves, granny square fingerless gloves, granny square sweaters, anything that you piece together with a square you could use this for. And it's basically a solid square that has this open design going across the center. So it's a different look, and I kind of like it, so I thought I would share it with you today. I'm going to go ahead and get to the tutorial now. Okay, so what you're going to need is some worsted weight yarn. Any yarn will work as long as it's a number 4 worsted weight. Depending on what you're going to be doing with your squares will depend on how much you need, so that's going to be up to you to figure out. Since I'm just showing you the one square, you're just going to have to try and guess on how much you need. If you're going to be doing a larger blanket, you're going to need several skeins. If you're going to be doing a baby blanket, I would say 2 to 3 skeins, just depending on what size you're going for. But any worsted weight yarn, you're going to need a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, pair of scissors, and your yarn needle as usual. So we're going to start off with a slip knot. And we are going to chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to go into this first chain right here with 2 double crochets. So this is 1, oops, and 2, and then you can kind of just pull that end up a little bit, and that will tighten it up. So that is the end of our first row. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. As usual, that chain 1 doesn't even exist. I'm not going to say that through every row, so just know when I chain 1 at the beginning of a row, we're just going to pretend like it's not even there. So we're going to go back into that first stitch with a double crochet, and then in the next stitch, which is the middle stitch, because we have 3 stitches from the row below, so in that next stitch we're going to be putting 2 double crochets. It's 1, 2, and then we're going to chain 1, loosely chain 1, and then into that same stitch we're going to put 2 more double crochets. So initially we're creating a corner right there. And then you have one more it's our chain 2 from the beginning. So we're going to work in the top of that chain 2. With 1 double crochet. So that is the end of row 2. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. And for row 3, we're going to put 1 double crochet, and then the beginning double crochet, and then in the next 2. So 1 double crochet here, 1 double crochet in the next, and 1 double crochet in the next. Now in our chain 1 space, we're going to put our 2 double crochet, loosely chain 1, 2 double crochet, all into that chain 1 space. So we're going to put 2 double crochets, scrunch that over a little bit, loosely chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets all into that same space. So just like that. Initially we've created another corner. So you should have 3 double crochets left, so you're going to put 1 double crochet in each one of those. So just like that. And you can see how it's starting to form a square. I am assuming that these squares will really need to be blocked afterwards, so keep that in mind. But I think it's kind of a neat way just to mix up a typical square. So we're going to chain 1 and then turn your work, and then into that first stitch we're going to put a double crochet, and then 1 double crochet in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. So as our square gets bigger, you're basically doing the same thing for every row, other than you have more stitches on each side of the chain 1 space. So we're to our chain 1 space, so we're going to put 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space, loosely chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets into that chain 1 space. So just like that. And then we're just going to put 1 double crochet in all the remaining double crochets. And then it's my last one. So see, your square just gets bigger and bigger and bigger the further you go. So like I said, you're just going to repeat that until your square gets the size that you want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and do, let's see, a total of 7 rows. So I'll do one more row with you, and then I'll go ahead and finish out the rest of the 7, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. Going to put 1 double crochet into that first stitch, and then 1 double crochet in all of the next stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the next 6 stitches we're going to put 1 double crochet in. And now we're to our chain 1 space, so we're going to put 2 double crochets into that space, and then loosely chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets into that space. And then we're going to put 1 double crochet in all the remaining stitches all the way to the end of the row. So just like that. So you could make tiny little squares like this and then just put a bunch of them together. You could make large squares. You could keep going until it's the size of an Afghan or a baby blanket or an Afghan, keeping in mind that it will be a square shape. You could do pretty much anything with this square. So I'm going to go ahead and finish out my remainder of the rows that I wanted to show you, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like when I, have a decent sized square. But like I said, you could do tiny little squares like this and just put a bunch of them together. You could do pretty much anything that you want. It's a very flexible pattern. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and do the remainder of my rows, then I'll come back and show you with a larger piece. Okay, so I've done a few more rows. I think I have 9 rows here. So this is what it looks like when it's, getting larger and larger and larger. So you could pretty much do anything that you want with this square. You could just keep going and you would have the size of a baby blanket. Or, you could do the smaller squares and sew them all together. You could do this size and sew them all together. You could do even larger, like 12 by 12s, and sew them together. It's a very versatile square. You can pretty much do anything that you can think of. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.